Yes. We have a bunch of new subscribers. I'd like to say for all the people subscribed recently, thank you for all the people subscribing. We appreciate it. Absolutely.
Yes,
fantastic.
We're very excited about the start. So
yep.
Let us know if you got some topics you want us to discuss. Let us know. Welcome to It's Not a Terrible Show. I just started the way that every drummer wants to start a song.
That was terrible.
These are my Def Leppard drumsticks. Anyway, let's start the show. So welcome to It's Not a Terrible Show, but it's getting close. It's Brian Carter. It's Garrison Wynn.
Thank you, Brian.
Today we're talking about generational equality, a topic that Garrison is going to define for me so that I can talk about it. What is it?
Like, what are we talking about?
What is generational?
Well, I think that in the workplace, if we're just going to break it into Gen, Y and Gen X and Boomers, let's just call it that. There's some Gen Z in there too. Mm-hmm. But the thing is that who's really in the best position? I mean, who's in charge? Who has the power? There's a lot of people in the age group of Gen Y. Yeah. I'm not seeing so many in the workforce. People love to say we got a lot of Gen Y. When I talk to people, half of their entire group are boomers, which is interesting. So not that many Gen Y. Gen X is what you are a member of. Gen X is a small generation anyway, not a lot of you. Yeah. They broke the mold when they made you guys because they had to.
Thank goodness.
By law.
Yes, I had to break my own mold in order to.
That's right. You've been moldy.
Thank you.
So the thing is that, who really has the positioning, and should someone be in that position? We want to be fair. We want to have some equality here. Yeah. I see a lot of Gen X managers kind of bugging out. They don't necessarily want to move up in those positions. We're seeing a lot of that. Yeah. A lot of boomers can't retire because they just, because they're boomers and they spend too much money on the beach house and the Ferrari.
And their kids.
When you're having a midlife crisis, it's kind of expensive. Yeah. So anyway, my overall thing is about,
you got blurry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's what happens. Hold on. Watch
Very
this.
Strange.
Oh.
He's gone.
Yeah. Look,
he's back.
Right here. So the thing is that my point overall is does someone have an advantage, and should someone have an advantage? Who really should be doing it? Isn't it time for Gen X to be in that position? If you're 46, 47 years old, you ought to be moving towards the CEO spot. Yeah. And we're not seeing enough of that actually happening. Too many companies have 62, 63, 55, 58-year-old CEOs. So either junior boomer.
You froze up there. You're either junior boomers or what?
I say that either you have junior boomers who are in the CEO positions, a junior boomers, 55, 60 years old, or older boomers that are like real live, 65-year-old folks. There seem to be really more in that upper leadership position, not enough 45, 46, 47-year-olds moving into those positions. A lot of them are actually retiring and deciding they don't want to do the corporate thing anymore. They're leaving. Yeah. A lot of Gen Y people just don't want a job. They don't want a 9-to-5 job. Yeah. They're not looking for that. So in the equality of the workforce, who really has this position? I don't know. It's an interesting thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll tell you my perspective, and I've done a lot of generational keynotes as you have too. And I got to go to the National Science something or other. It's some national science place.
Brian loves his clients. He doesn't know who they are.
No, they're a federal organization that they had Pew Research, Deloitte, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the CIA, and a whole bunch of university professors. And we were talking about things like generational labels and stats and stuff. And there are a lot of big problems we have. Number one, there's not enough data on Gen Z. We only recently got enough data on Gen Y to say some things confidently, and those are things that are very basic, like very basic things. So there's been a ton of speculation about generations, but I always talk about teamwork. Really, when I do generations, I talk about we got to work together, but there are some significant differences. the labels are too general. They're stereotypes, right? So nobody wants to be stereotyped, and of course nobody fits the stereotype or whatever. But some of the biggest changes have been things like, I can tell you from having talked to a lot of Gen Xers and Gen Y and Gen Z, and then also read some of their discussion posts on social media, that there's a lot of dislike, even resentment towards boomers for a lot of things. And some people are more aggressive about that than others. Some people have just come into the workplace the way it is, and they're like, cool, this is how it is, we're going to do it. Other people are like, nope, I'm opting out and being an entrepreneur. And then still other people are like, boomers are wrong, they created a bad world, like they won't give up their jobs and blah, 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 blah. So, I mean, no matter what's going on, like for things to change, boomers have to accept younger people and that they have different ways of doing things, but they don't all want to accept that. Right. And then, millennials may need to come in and learn to be more flexible and not always get what they want or what they think is right. Right. Which is something, I mean, as Gen X, we're like this lost generation. We had to come in and accept like kind of a world and a system that we didn't really agree with, but we didn't have a lot of the things that millennials have right now to be able to have any chance of fighting against it. So, No,
I mean, that makes perfect sense. And I think the thing with boomers, and especially the junior boomers, and when I say junior, people who really are, 60 or a little bit below 60, 55 to 60, our situation is that many of us kind of don't want to retire. And I'm talking about not wanting to stop working. Yeah. Especially those of us who probably could retire and could have a retirement.
Yeah.
No. And one of the reasons is that we feel that the leaders aren't coming in. Where are these leaders taking over? Where are these upper management people? They seem to not be showing up. Matter of fact, what we're seeing right now is a lot of people at 30 years old and 32 years old and 28 years old are getting moved to those leadership positions because, number one, Gen X is a small generation.
Yeah.
And number two, a lot of Gen X didn't like it, didn't agree, just kind of bugged out. They're just not there. But as far as Gen Z is concerned, I've said this before, half of Gen Z is literally in junior high.
Yeah.
So we keep them at Gen Z.
Why aren't they at work?
Why are they at work? Because they're in the 8th grade is why they're not at work.
Yeah.
But there are, senior Gen Zers, which are 22 or 23, 24. They are there, but not as many. But to what you said, and I think it's extremely important.
Of course. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm just being polite. I think what you said was best crap. But
well, likewise.
That's right. But I think the thing is that I think the boomers don't really have a lot of confidence in the way the work is being done and what's going on.
Yeah.
And frankly, I'm not going to be specific, but I could be about some stuff today, is that, software that takes 8 people 3 hours to make function at a basic level, maybe that's the wrong software. Yeah. Maybe if no one can do it, maybe if no one in the building, maybe if 5 IT guys are baffled, maybe that's not the software. And I
have no idea what you're talking about now. All right, is this related to the generational thing?
It is, because what's happening is people are coming in and they're saying, hey, here it is. Here's the platform we're going to use. It's not working. If it doesn't work, if something doesn't work, we can't just start blaming everybody because they can't do it, especially if no one can do it. Mm-hmm. If no one. I've talked, now I'm getting so upset that I'm fuzzing out. Hold on, let me.
That's your camera. Your camera is objecting to your
anger.
My
camera fails.
Yes.
My camera's failing.
Yes.
So
your camera's judging you because
it's really easy to say, oh, these 60-year-old guys don't understand technology, and I think that was a pretty good argument 3 or 4 years ago. But I'm seeing some stuff where it's clear the software wasn't good. It doesn't work. It's not user friendly. The 38-year-old guy can't do it either. Mm-hmm. So I just think it's kind of time to where we go, okay, we all have a role here. A good team is going to be, you got to have Gen Y and you're going to have boomers. You're going to have Gen X to have a good team. There's not one team that's better. If everybody on your team's your same age, it's a crappy team. But I think that we have to get real. We don't have enough Gen Y. Right?
Yeah.
They're just not in the workforce. Gen X was small to begin with, okay? And a lot of them aren't moving in. And the boomers are probably are hanging around too long and probably do have too much input because someone else should be in there. Where are they?
Well, the tough thing, I think, is that everybody's got a different perspective and everybody thinks they're right. And so that doesn't really lead to teamwork or to, solutions that work for everybody. And the other thing I usually talk about is one size fits all is a really lazy, really bad way to approach the workplace. It traditionally has been the way to do it. Like, we've got one policy for this, this is the way this is done. This is the compensation, blah, 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 whatever. There's not a flexibility where, because if you really, what you're saying is your perspective, part of your age, what I'm saying is my perspective, part of my age. And then, Gen Y would say something else. But there has to be a way for everybody to have their own input on it, and then for everybody to be flexible about it. And that's not, I don't see that happening enough. And unfortunately, the people that kind of hold the positions of power about that are, like you say, usually boomers, which means they're the ones that would have to be the most flexible. And when you're being flexible in this way, what that looks like is maybe what I think is wrong is okay. Maybe what I think is right is not the right way. And that's really hard for people to do.
Well, I think it would make a big difference if the numbers were better. I speak at conventions like you do, and I speak at conventions all the time.
Yeah.
Back before we were quarantined. Now I'm just talking to myself in Zoom. But I was the keynote speaker today for a big pharma company, literally doing this. I mean, I was the keynote speaker, and they were all at home.
Yeah.
So I'm not. I look good, but I'm not bathing. I mean, I look good, but I smell like goat poop. I mean, really, because I'm just not bathing.
At least you can still smell, that's a good thing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
In the last year, 2-3 years, I've noticed that they keep talking about, we want to make sure that our company is going to conform to our young workers. Mm-hmm. But under 30 is 3 and 4% of their workforce, 5%, 8%.
Right.
The other day, I had someone go, oh, yeah, we have really a lot of young workers. And they came back and said, yeah, we did the math, and it's 10%. 10% is not a lot of young workers.
Yeah.
That's not a giant number.
No.
So I think, I think it's very difficult for a company, somebody your age or my age, to go, oh, we want to conform to Gen Y. Well, where are they?
Yeah. That's interesting because all the stats that we saw, estimated that by this point, there would be more Gen Y people working than boomers.
Absolutely.
So that's very strange.
Today, when I gave the keynote, virtual keynote to a large big pharma company, 50% of the audience in 50 different locations was over age 45.
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting number. And I asked how many people are under 30. They go, oh, no, very few. Really? And we're talking high tech, big pharma, lots of tech.
Yeah.
So
well, it's interesting. I know that for sure, this whole thing affecting restaurants and the service industry, people losing jobs. I've read that a ton of those people, a large percent are younger people, which makes sense. I mean, that's often the kind of job you have when you're younger. But I think that would fit, right? And typically when you or I give keynotes or whatever, we're doing managers or leaders or whatever. And so, like if I do this McDonald's keynote, I did it to franchisees. It's not to the McDonald's employees, a ton of whom might be millennials. But Yeah, that could be. It's pretty just very industry specific,
It's funny you say that. I did McDonald's also. I did Arby's, McDonald's. But what was interesting to me was how many of the franchise man expected to see some 28, 29-year-olds in what they call quick service, of course, food in the management position. I did Subway, and it was the same thing. Yeah, there were some people 28 years old, but the vast majority were a lot of 42, 45-year-old people who were in that job.
Yeah. Well, so, it's interesting. I mean, just anecdotally, like some of the younger folks that I've worked with, I just see interesting choices. And I always go like, would I have made that choice in my 20s? Maybe. And it's things like, like you always make that joke, quitting. Well, you've got a joke about quitting for what? Quitting
a ski trip.
That's right. Yeah. Quitting your job to go on a ski trip.
Work or go on a ski trip.
Yeah.
Work or ski.
Tough choice. But I mean,
right.
and I don't, maybe it just comes from, like, my parents were brought up by people who went through the Depression. Then they brought me up. And so there was this whole work ethic thing. And I don't know if we got too far away from that generationally and it just didn't get passed on as much. Right. But there are people who are like, no, I don't know if I want a job, or no, I don't like this job. And then they go to another job and they're like, I don't like that job either. And maybe I will retire. Well, you don't have any money to retire with.
But there are a lot of people who are in their mid 40s who are retiring without the money. They simply just are going to find a way to do it. There's a lot of that. I talked to a guy the other day who said he had a financial advisory firm. He said, I had 4 of my best people making great money who had not yet hit 46, 47 years old, who were getting ready to come into their prime earning years, all retire and turn down management positions. They just don't want to work anymore. And here's the thing, I'm going to come from a new angle here. And I think I know a lot of people, my age group, don't say this, but I will. Let's be honest. The choice is a little different than it might have been. The stigma, the opinion, the culture is different. Right now, it is okay to be 25, 26, living at mom and dad's house. You don't own any. You don't have a job, and you're down at a local coffee shop with other people, and you are not judged by that. Your peers will not judge you and label you a loser for that.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist. And for you and I, it did exist.
It did.
That was a real thing.
If you were 25 and you lived with your parents, they probably thought you had some kind of disability. Or mental problem. Because or you had to, like, the expectation of my parents was like 18, you're out of the house, either you're going to college or you're getting a job,
right?
And that's it. And these were, suburban middle class people. They're so yeah, you're right. It's different, and I don't know if it's just that there are so many younger people where they just object too much to the system of work that exists or whatever philosophically. I don't know what it is. Sometimes it sounds like that. Or it's just that there's such a culture of acceptance now that no matter who you are, what you choose lifestyle-wise, gender transitioning, whatever, the whole theme is acceptance. So it's like, well, if you don't want to have a job and you don't want to live that way, that's your choice. That's your truth. Just, be you.
Well, that's kind of where I'm going. I mean, because it's, when you're talking options means acceptance. The options, it's okay to have that option. Now, we can blame some of this, on the elementary school system or culture, but really it's also parenting. I mean, there are a lot of people who are in their late 50s, and they want their kids living there. Let's not make it. They want those kids at home. They want it. They want them. They want them there. And I've seen situations. I've got a part-time young person I deal with whose mother absolutely.
What does that mean? You have a part-time young person you deal with? Is that a worker or someone you just?
A part-time employee.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Okay. Part-time young
I've got a
person.
young girlfriend, but that's a little bit different. That's their story.
We've got a person who's part of the time he's young. The rest of the time
Right.
he's
The other part-time
he's
is
Benjamin Button.
it's kind of a Benjamin Button.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay.
So no, the thing is that and this person's parents, his parents absolutely want him living. They're really upset that he's thinking about getting an apartment. I talked to a guy who was a researcher on generational stuff, and he said that it's real common if you got 2 or 3 kids, you just keep one at home. So maybe 2 get out, but there's always one you're keeping. We're going to keep one. I think culture has done that.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, but let's get real. Look, I mean, when you and I were 22, 23, and we had those kinds of options, what would we do? I think we have to stop for a second and pause before we get too critical of some of these people 25 years old and ask ourselves, what would we have done with those kinds of options? That's the truth.
Well, what would we have done? A good point. I mean, maybe I would have taken up my parents on that and all that.
Right.
I think it has an effect though, because since I did go to college, and a lot of them do, but then after that, I didn't have a lot of direction, and I was in some not great jobs, pizza delivery or trying to learn to be a programmer from some dude for a couple weeks and being too lazy to do anything about it and getting fired.
Right.
And I just, I learned a lot from those, what you might call crappy jobs or crappy experiences that turned me into the person that I am now, who was able to achieve a lot of things, get a lot of stuff done.
Right.
So it's almost like, military training or like an athlete, like you don't just suddenly become LeBron James. Even if you're born with his talent and his body, you have to work at it. And like a lot of people are not very good for a long, long time. Right.
Well, if you do just suddenly become LeBron James, and you're like, this is like a bad movie where suddenly becomes LeBron James. But I agree. I just think that with the different work styles and opinions and communication styles, there's a lot of different opinions on how work should be conducted. I think there's that is a big factor. I know some young people go to work and say, there's a lot of young people don't use email, especially people 24, 25. They're not going to use email. They're going to text you. And then you have the 60-year-old person who would never give anyone their cell phone number. You're going to text that dude. He's 65. He's not going to give you his number. That's not happening. Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of, I think work styles are so different. It's easy for people to disagree.
Yeah.
I think that's it, but I believe that every generation has a flaw and they have a plus. And, I think if you're in your 20s, it's like, hey, somebody help me. My mom brought me to work in my 20s. You're going to help somebody help. I think you need help. And that can be difficult to walk into a situation needing help. I think also if in your 20s, your flaw might be that if you were told that you're going to be okay no matter what, if that was the cultural thing you were raised with, then a higher percentage of people won't have much ambition. If I'm okay no matter what, why the hell am I dealing with you? Screw it. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But I think that the positive is that these young people, I think they understand things at certainly a better level than I did. And I was in my 20s, I was a Fortune 500 junior VP. I was no dummy, and I understood the world and was prepared and all that. But I don't think I probably had the insight somebody 25-year-old has today. Maybe I was a harder worker or knew something or whatever. But I think that they kind of know what the right and wrong move is sometimes, even though it may not look like that to us.
I'd add that they're very strong socially, like in a way, like even though people talk about maybe lost some social, like in-person social skills, but like their ability to communicate using chat or Slack or instant messaging or whatever is really fast, and there's a zeitgeist with them, and there's a shared culture too, that in fact, if you haven't worked at it as an older person, are clueless about many of the references and all that kind of stuff.
And one of the things nobody talks about is the level of compassion. It's easy, for you to be face to face with the 26-year-old woman behind the front desk who she doesn't care if you live or die. But that's because of the situation, or maybe the style that you're expecting. But, some of these young people genuinely care about their friends and genuinely care about the world in a way that maybe we didn't. The other thing is, but if you're Gen X,
Wait, one more thing before we move on from that. Have you seen wholesome memes?
Some of that,
there's this whole thing about wholesomeness, and it's like, and then there are comics that are like, there's no punchline. There's like, the punchline is a super positive thing. It's just a totally different, the wholesome meme is, agreeing with what you're saying, a really cool thing that they've created.
And could account for some very unfunny young comedians. Anyway,
it's possible. Well,
very unfunny.
It's strange. Let me say, as a Gen X person, I was built to find problems. I see the problem, I found it, and I will fix it. I'm a problem finder and solver and fixer, and that irritates millennials like crazy because they don't want there to be. They're like, it's not a problem. It's just, sometimes when I see a problem in another person, they're like, no, I accept that person, and so that can sometimes conflict.
I agree. But as someone who is a little bit too old to actually, to be Gen X, I find myself in a strange position. Number one, is some of the boomers, I'm a junior boomer. I don't really agree with what they're doing at all, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But so I'm not really there. But I will tell you that this idea that we spend this much time working on the technical aspects, all the time spent on trying to make the equipment work is driving me crazy.
You're going back
to that. In other words, if my goal, right? I mean, how do they do it? Today, these guys are like 43, 44, 45, and they were totally into what they're doing, and they believe that's the work. In other words, if my goal is a hole, I can only spend so much time working on the shovel. It's ridiculous. I don't want to working on a shovel is not doing my job. Digging a hole is the job, not working on the shovel.
Let's get the shovel to work. Let's rebuild the shovel. Yeah.
They think that rebuilding the shovel and bringing in a fifth shovel, that they're actually moving towards the goal. And maybe that's true somehow, because I guess we have to have a shovel to dig a hole. But I don't have that kind of time to wait for us to shine up the shovel.
Yeah, we get a different shovel. Right.
Yeah. I'd rather just dig it with my hands. I mean, at this point, I don't really care. To me, the goal is the hole. And the more time we spend not digging a hole makes me crazy.
Yeah.
Because there's no way we're going to get a hole. It cannot be dug by retooling the shovel for the third time. There's got to be. So I think there's a weird idea about what the work actually is, about what's really actually, just what's important.
Goal focused. I agree with you on that. I mean, to me, that's always like the goal is to have a goal, achieve the goal, right? That's the goal, is to have a goal, achieve the goal. That's the goal. I'm going to keep saying the word goal.
Well, what I say is that, if you don't have goals, you're just controlled by those who do. So if I don't really have a goal, then I'm dragged off by somebody else's goal. And if somebody else's goal is to shine the shovel and not dig the hole, then I'm screwed. So it makes me want to stick to my goals more. And then someone looks at me like, this guy is he's just a hard driving ass. So no, I want to dig a hole, not shine the shovel. Yeah.
I want to get a good haircut. This is just a mess.
What I have on my hair now is something called pomade. It's flammable. And I'm a time bomb. My hair is this tall, but it's been scrunched and then stuff's in it.
This will only work. I should have had 2 applications of gel today. Like, this is just the first application, and it's not enough. We're headed for strange things here with this quarantine.
Well, basically, when you put the products I have in my hair, what it ends up being is, I guess, stucco. Like I could actually build a house out of my head.
Yes, instead of hairstyling, you're roofing. Good job.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's a roof. Mm-hmm. But I think to wrap things up on this, and to me, I think it's huge. If we want to be on the same page and have this level of, generational equality where we honor and respect each other, I think we're going to have to be able to walk in each other's shoes a little bit. And I understand that if I'm talking to you, that the way to really influence you is for you to believe I'm at least trying to be as independent as you are. So you may not have patience with me. If I, a lot of times when you're older, you want people to assist you and help you. You're trying to, who's handling this? Should have been handled. Yeah. So a lot of that goes on. Somebody should be handling this. And so I understand that I'm going to have to show you I can be independent.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to believe that you are totally interested in the goal, no matter what you're at, to believe that what you're doing is going to, get us to the goal.
Right.
And both of us have to believe that Gen Y
is committed.
They got to be. Are they doing what they're supposed to be doing? Are they committed?
Yeah. Are they going to stick around? I mean, it's another form of goal achievement,
right.
Which is, are you going to go after the goal here with us for 6 months?
Right.
Or 3 years,
A lot of young people are very stressed out and very depressed. And I have been looking at that for a long time. Well, the leading cause of being stressed out is knowing exactly what you're supposed to be doing and consistently doing something else. That will stress you out to no end. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to depression, it's that idea that you have a belief that you hold, and that belief is just not coming true. And if you believe that the world is going to eventually adapt to you when you're brand new into that space, it's not likely to happen.
It's not even going to happen when you're my age.
Right. Well, my generation is more like, well, these young people are interesting. And Brian's like, these young people have to be killed. We get rid of them. So,
don't put words in my mouth.
No, I'm just
only
saying.
Half of them. We only have to kill half of them.
Gen X notoriously has some issues with Gen Y.
Well, don't stereotype. You're labeling me.
Well, can I tell you something about stereotypes? You know why we have stereotypes? You know why?
So that people like you can think they're true?
No. We have stereotypes because if you don't at least attempt to categorize something, then you'll get it confused with something else, and you're likely to mislabel.
Yes, I understand categories and heuristics. However, when you have like a specific person in front of you, like us, then you can treat that person like an individual.
Well, of course. But, the thing is, though, if I'm dealing with someone, all right, so if I go to another country and I don't want to be stereotyped as an American, but I'm with other Americans and I see Americans in other countries do things that are very American. I mean, that is an American thing.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it.
I saw that. When I went to Ecuador, there was a guy from Florida who all he wanted to do was jet ski. And I'm like, dude, you're here to like appreciate a different culture. Why are you going jet skiing?
Well, like my favorite is when you're in another country and you're somewhere in Asia, you keep asking for ice. And they explain, we got ice, but it's what the fish is laying on. If you want the fish ice, you can have that. But you don't want that in your drink.
Yeah.
So. Yep, no doubt. So anyway, I thought that was an interesting topic. I hope we can find out what the next move is. But remember that we're going to have a workforce with whatever we have. Yeah. And with COVID-19 starting to finally wind down, it looks like the deaths have dropped 30% in the U.S. just in about a week. So that's good. So we're kind of coming out of this thing slowly, or actually kind of quickly. But I'm not sure when all is said and done if companies are going to hire people and hire back who they let go. What happens in these times is companies realize how many people they don't need.
That's right. That is true.
Yeah.
That happened with the Great Recession, and it'll probably happen here too. I mean, of course, if you open a restaurant, you've got to bring somebody back, but you're definitely not bringing everybody back.
Yep.
Yep. Yep.
I went to get a coffee the other day, and I went in there. They're all wearing masks. I felt like I was getting coffee from a surgeon. He had gloves on and everything. It's like he was giving me poisonous coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's very interesting. Today, I was at a place and where a really nice place, good coffee and macaroons and pastries and all that. And there was not a single stick of furniture there. There was 5 or 6 of us in there, all really far apart, while a masked, gloved guy, ran the espresso machine and doled out macaroons like they had nitroglycerin in them. Like,
well, you're braver than me. I went to get a prescription today, and I went through the pharmacy drive-through, and I was wearing gloves, and I was thinking maybe I should be wearing a mask, but no, I don't need a mask. But yeah.
Well, there's a difference between you and I. I mean, you're insane. That's the main difference.
The difference between me and a lot of people is I'm cautious. So.
Yeah, I am. Yesterday I wore a glove. I had just one glove on. I'm really kind of the Michael Jackson of coronavirus.
Okay.
I just had like the one glove, and just to take the.
You're gonna beat it.
Yeah. So, that's really not funny.
It's just a really thrilling time for us.
So that's the kind of thing that Brian should edit out that he won't.
That part-time guy you work with is not your son.
No, he's trying to be, but
but the kid is not your son.
No, it's not. It's just, I don't know. Yeah, so that's.
I enjoy bad jokes, really bad jokes. You want to?
I tell you what, though, I'm just glad that we're not doing this through Billie Jean. That's for sure.
That's right.
It's Blue Jean. Sorry, Blue Jean.
What do you call the longest of 3 hippos?
I have no idea.
The hippopotamus.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's a really bad joke that I never
What do you call a boomerang that won't come back?
A stick.
It's a stick. It's a freaking stick. That's what that is. So you know. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that was not a terrible show. Are we done?
Not a terrible show.
Yeah.
And I thought it was important. It's an important topic because I am finding out that there is some inequality and some different beliefs and
it's a difficult topic, but it's an important one.
Yeah. And I really mean it. I think we have to ask ourselves, what would we do if we were 25 and had those kinds of options? I think we have to ask ourselves that question honestly before we start being too critical. I agree. That's for sure. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we are
not a terrible show.
We are not terrible, and we think you're not terrible, and that you should subscribe to our show if you made it this long.
Yes. We have a bunch of new subscribers. I'd like to say for all the people subscribed recently, thank you for all the people subscribing. We appreciate it. Absolutely.
Yes.
Fantastic.
We're very excited about the start. So
yep.
Let us know if you got some topics you want us to discuss. Let us know. And that's it.
Okay.
We need to figure out a better ending. But
I think it winds. We're not too bad at winding down. By the way.
It's nice. It's nice to in this other YouTube show I have. We've developed kind of a pattern that how we begin and end the shows, and it's a nice rhythm, and it's familiar, and it tells people it's over, whatever.
Well, I think that we can do that if you have an idea about how to make that happen.
Yeah, maybe if I think of something, I'll run it past you.
Yeah, I've always liked the idea, I guess because I did it on when we did satellite radio, was the kind of like, are we done? Is it over now? That kind of thing. And that may not be what's best. So, I don't know that's the best idea.
Well, it is if then we actually end. But if we keep going and do that like 3 times, then it's like crying wolf on the ending, right?
Right. I agree. You think my sound is okay? I got my sound better?
You sound good. I had a few internet issues. I don't know if it was me, but I'll look at it in the editing. It wasn't.
Well,
it was
I'm
only
right
a couple
now.
times.
I really ought to have 6 on the upload and 50 on the download. Not done. I got like 29 and 4.8. So I'm paying for 50, but I'm not getting it.
Yeah.
What do you run right now? What's your
right now? I'm at 38, 40, 42, 44.
You're 44?
45. I'm running.
You see that's why you don't have the problems I do.
But my upload's not so good right now. So it might have been me. My upload is 4.5. So that's me every day. That's what I'm getting at. That's good for me. So let's see what I have. Right now I'm running